And if they keep this up, I'm not sure how well Strictly Business are going to fare against Obey Alliance in game number 2. But if I'm Strictly Business, I'm completely shaking it off and just acting like that game never happened.
That's how you have to be, honestly, whenever you play against a team such as Obey Alliance, the world defending champions here. With a new Hunter, doesn't matter. They're still looking stronger than ever. Strictly Business going with another Bellona ban here as Obey takes away the Raven. So you don't want to see Nemesis and Chang'e together. Is there a different combination you want to see out of this team specifically?
Out of this team specifically, I can't think of one in particular, considering that Challenger probably has one of the more unique god pools as far as the console mid laners are concerned. But I would just like to see them opting for just high clear jungle or high clear mid.
Well, picking the Osiris yet again. Nickwood didn't have the greatest showing in that game. He did get picked off at level 1, unfortunately, to Myflin's nice little route, setting up some more Sunder plays. But Obey, they get their signature soul here for Delta Marine again.
And I doubt that Delta Marine has any complaints about that one. And they're also going to be picking up that some Wukong, which I imagine is yet again going the way of Dwurst in that solo lane. And I can't disagree with it. They both did their jobs when they had these gods.
Well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And that's exactly what Obey Alliance is saying to themselves. Having 5 victories so far in this split, looking so clean, looking in a pretty comfortable spot to get to Valencia.
Looking very comfortable to get to Valencia, especially if they're able to close this set out. Then I think that'll pretty much be guaranteed almost for Obey Alliance to make it through. But they've got to worry about securing things, first of all, and picking up that Odin.
Against the Thoth, against Erlang, Shen. Now, Osiris doesn't necessarily care about that, but the other two certainly will. Thoth having so much range in his kit by using that wall, but the Odin here more than likely will be played on Jelly, if I'm not mistaken here. He likes to play these warriors every now and then. We did see Erlang Shen on to Myflin instead, where I thought it would be on Jelly, but still, as the bans go through, Honor and Kurnos taking that one away from Strictly Business Hunter, whereas Fafnir and Zeus on the opposite end.
And again, the Jing Wei. And I think I love this pick every single time. You can't ever really go wrong with Jing Wei in the Hunter role right now. And I just love how it pairs with the Odin, because you're going to be able to just lock people down, remove. It's not as much AoE control as you would want from her first ability, but it can still get in the way for people who are trying to juke around inside of that cage.
Yeah, that's going to be like that small circle. You just put it at the tip where they're just running back and forth. You're going to find some, maybe multiple knockups as well. Athena and Rama is going to be the dual lane coming out of Strictly Business. Is this the kind of control for Strictly Business with Challenger on the top that you want to see out of them?
I like this a lot more than what they had in game number 1. I think that the Erlang can make up for the lack of mid pressure that Thoth has in the early clearing stages. But what I don't like about Strictly Business is they knew that Odin was there in that first 3 pick selection, and they still went for the Rama Athena. Granted, that was probably a little pre-planned by Obey Alliance, considering they did ban out the On Her, but Huyi is still being on the table. I'm kind of surprised you wouldn't opt for that to try and get away from the Odin.
Well, either way, though, we're going to see the escape list composition from Strictly Business. They might have a specific game plan if Myflin gets caught out of position, because keep in mind, when you do Bird Bomb in with that shield, you do a lot of damage, but then you are a sitting duck. But there's a lot of control and damage as well coming from Strictly Business. It's actually going to be Reminisst playing this Osiris in the jungle, while Nickwood opts to change things up with an Erlang Shen for himself.
I probably would favor the Erlang having gone the way of the jungle, but if Reminisst feels confident on this Osiris, it's clearly something that Strictly Business has run before, and that's the reason why they're going to just stay true to it and try and make it happen.
Mancer left alone in a 1v2 spot. He does have Ninja Tabby here, and yet again, he secures himself these 4 little ogres very effectively, and he's going to lose some gold under the tower, sure, but I feel like the experience that he gets from those ogres compensates for it.
Obey Alliance more than happy to leave their Hunter alone in that dual lane, and he's still on par with Fatal Ghost and Inbound because of the fact that he was able to secure those minis.
And not only that, he's only one player. He doesn't have to share his experience with that support here. We see Jelly in the mid lane catering around Delta Marine, making it a little bit more difficult for Challenger as he's left alone in a 1v2, and without a jungler by his side, the Thoth level 1, you can't really clear the mid wave on your own.
This time around, Strictly Business also won't won't be able to look for any sort of invade onto the red buff of Obey Alliance. Jelly and Delta Marine immediately rotating there after clearing out mid.
So if you're left alone in a 1v2 as a hunter here, do you want to see Inbound just camp this duel lane a little bit harder, maybe force out the Purification Bead or an Aegis Amulet?
Inbound has a little bit more flexibility in comparison to if he were any other Guardian, just because he does have the global ultimate available to help out his teammates elsewhere on the map. So if he wants to camp the lane, that's fine. But I think that he would probably be better suited assisting his teammates securing farm and their early buffs.
Not only that, he opted to go for that early Phantom here, really respecting the lockdown potential coming out of Myflin, playing this Odin cage that has such a short cooldown on that ultimate, even without any cooldown reduction, going for a very aggressive route on the Odin for an early blink.
And I mean, you can't really go wrong with early blink on Odin. Sure, he doesn't have a CC immune ult, but Odin's tanky enough within himself that he'll be perfectly fine wherever he tries to engage, especially against the draft that Strictly Business is running. That's not necessarily a super burst draft early on. It's going to take a little bit for the Ram and Thoth to get online.
Athena and the Sobek still going for the lowest mass. Hold that Thoth though in the mid lane. A dash taunt onto one here. Jelly taking a lot of damage. He's very low. That he's going to get stunned out by the tether. And that pluck without that escape ability, just nowhere for him to go. First blood this time credited Strictly Business.
That Sunday coming in clutch for Reminisst, ensuring that they had enough damage. But now it's Jelly or Myflin who's trying to find the return fire onto Shaliber. Delta Marine dropping the ultimate, and Shaliber is still alive, but just for a moment. Still, Reminisst fairly low, gonna have to back away.
Inbound didn't really respect the damage here from Myflin, and we saw how he dashed through that mid wave expecting to do some damage onto Delta Marine, but it's actually his mid laner that was in a lot of trouble, getting locked in that cage, not being able to position himself for the Phantom right away. A little bit of miscommunication, I feel like.
Probably a little bit of miscommunication, or at least he expected his team to have the clear for the wave to where he could just back off pretty safely. Most people don't really expect an Odin to just jump into 3 members.
And it's a 3-on-2, right? Strictly Business, in theory, should have that.
But in theory, but it's sometimes what looks good on paper doesn't necessarily translate to what actually happens, and that was definitely the case for Inbound.
Level 4 onto Shaliber. He didn't really have the final judgment or could stack up to the supernova damage that Delta Marine was able to bring out during that cage. And despite finding that early first blood, Obey Alliance capitalized instantly. The blink wasn't even used. There was just straight up bird bomb action. Shaliber needs to really respect the distance that Myflin can cover between both the blink and the jump.
What's also interesting is that Strictly Business got the 400 gold bounty bonus from the first blood, yet they're slightly behind Obey Alliance when it comes to the actual gold lead. And granted, it's not like 200 gold is a massive gold lead or anything in favor of Obey, but it just goes to show how proficient they are at farming.
It just seems to me as Dwurst barely escapes under that own cloud here, Reminisst gonna wait on for the landing, but Myflin's right around the corner. Nice little blink, and the cage is going to save the life out of Dwurst. Archers, though, could be troublesome here. Nice eagle form avoiding the sickle.
And that was such a sick juke by Dwurst. It was unfortunate that he missed the cudgel initially, landing onto both of them inside of that cage, but the fact that he was able to live, what an excellent play by Myflin.
What a turnaround. That blink play, because he didn't use it in the mid lane, he was able to translate that in the solo lane. This jungler here out of Obey Alliance, if he's not playing aggressive assassin, he's making it work on these warriors. Jelly trying to scare away the members of Strictly Business, finding the pluck onto Fatal Ghost. Nice play by Shaliber, helping finding the kill onto Jelly.
I don't think that Jelly was expecting to get that Thoth ult straight to the face, however, and great recognition by Shaliber to just launch that immediately because Jelly had nowhere left to go.
Very aggressive play from Obey Alliance just to use that ultimate to stop the oracles from Strictly Business.
They really wanted the Oracle vision. I can't blame them. They have a comp that can shred it.
Well, Myflin wasn't really quite there around the corner in that team fight as he was assisting Dwurst, and that allowed them a comfortable advantage there. Delta Marine couldn't really get the damage off, I feel like, that Shaliber could. It was just the alignment was there for the final judgment this time around. Thoth giving you more damage than the Chang'e that Shaliber played last game.
I would say certainly that Shaliber has been a much bigger threat on this Thoth than what he was on the Chang'e. It's just because he's got the stun availability. He's got a lot more range due to the wall that Thoth can place that increases your ability range. I just prefer this pick so much more than him on the Chang'e.
Just a lot of distance that he can cover as well. A lot of boxing and slapping around of each other in that soul lane. Nick needs to be careful. He uses that ultimate to get off some more sustain, but this allows Dwurst some more capabilities to poke out his opposition because he has the ultimate for sustain on his own. Not only that, right around the corner is Myflin looking to be aggressive.
I appreciate the aggression from Myflin, and they have not been letting up on this speed buff 2 games in a row now. And Reminisst just lost half of his health trying to run down Delta Marine, but he's got the immunity.
The cage comes out as well. Dwurst goes in the sky, breaks the tether. Final judgment being channeled here. Off the mark, Shaliber misses 2 stationary targets there. Dwurst's decoy absorbing that one. Speed buff going to get started here by Obey Alliance. Unbound finding the taunt here. A plug onto the Athena and walking away cleanly yet again with another speed invade.
Obey absolutely love stripping the enemy jungler of his speed buff. They don't place too much emphasis on that blue. If they can get away with the blue buff invade, then they will. But that speed in particular, man, Reminisst has not had any control over that.
And because of this, there's a 2-level advantage from Myflin, just able to escalate himself to that next level. It just seems to me that Reminisst is building a lot of these bridge items here on the Osiris jungle, going for the Death's Toll, Bumba's Mask, and then with the boots here, now getting the Mark of the Vanguard. Normally, this is a kind of a solo lane tradition to do, and this is definitely going to hurt his mid game, I feel, for other defensive items.
I think it's going to impact his damage as well, just slightly, but the difference will definitely be there because he could have probably built into something a little bit more defense-oriented, like a breastplate or even a Nemean again. Sure, he wouldn't have the health that
Shifters,
would be ideal.
maybe.
Shifters would be excellent, but I just don't think that what he has in mind is probably just getting as much early prots as possible and everything with the Death's Toll still providing at least a 10 physical power and the health.
Mancer's been doing a good job just quietly farming away yet again this time around. He's still going for this Devil Gloves immediately after the Ninja Tabby, sitting pretty at 44 stacks right now, almost finishing off that Icavile and sitting almost at level 12 there. He's the highest level of the game that's about to get that second relic slot. Strictly Business looking for something, but this Athena dash taunts for an inbound hasn't been setting up the way he would like.
But that's not what Myflin is concerned about. Phantom is being used currently, but Shaliber is already poked out. Now it's Jelly who needs to be careful here. He's going to eat the Thoth ultimate straight to the face, but they don't even care.
A lot of damage onto Inbound as well. He's dashing away into this tier 1 tower. Has the Defender of Olympus available to get back into the thick of things if Reminisst needs to. He's getting slapped around by Myflin. Jelly as well gets hit by the flail. Reminisst right behind Inbound. The dash taunt coming out onto Jelly there. The snipes coming through as well, but it's not enough as Jelly barely escapes under that tier 1 tower.
That was a pretty sick combination. I think that was well played by Fatal Ghost as well. As soon as the Athena taunt came through, he's up in the sky looking to get those shots landed.
Nickwood, though, getting the better end of Dwurst this time around. He's going to get a higher health pool once that ultimate does proc after 4 seconds. This is the point where the Erlang Shen starts to slowly take over the Sun Wukong. Once you max out that Mink, you get a lot of attack speed, and by using that natural steroid, you have that Fatalis effect here, but it's all a bait. Myflin right around the corner, and there's no escape.
There's nowhere at all for Nickwood to go, and Myflin knows just how much he got baited.
No vision here from Strictly Business on the side of Obey Alliance. That Sentry Ward positioned beautifully right underneath the blue buff just to see if Nickwood would have the vision. As a result of him not having the vision, he played a little too cocky, I would say, trying to go for that Mink form, trying to take advantage of the fact that Dwurst's ultimate was down.
But even with Reminisst losing his solo laner, at least he was able to secure a speed buff. That's got a bright side to everything.
If Strictly Business has to sacrifice their solo laner to get their own speed buff every single time, things can't be looking pretty for them.
Reminisst would probably let him die off cooldown if he got his speed buff every time. So I couldn't blame him. That's just the jungler syndrome. Any fight could be happening somewhere on the map, and it could be like a game-changing fight, but speed buff's up.
Well, whether or not you're Osiris or another assassin here, that speed buff very valuable here whenever you are that jungle position. Wanting to take that away from Strictly Business. Obey Alliance finally alleviating a little bit of pressure on that side of the jungle. No pressure here though. Solo lane still thinking about a little bit of more action, jumping into the wave, missing out onto Nickwood. Gonna find some poke there, but nothing to really write home about in the mid lane though. Jelly still looking for that pluck opportunity, trying to get maybe some relics away from Shaliber.
Speaking of looking for opportunities, Mancer, now that he's got the Devos, the Ickful, and building yet again into this Fatalis, this is a problem for Strictly Business and an issue that I'm not sure that anybody on their team can deal with unless Shaliber gets an insane ultimate off on him.
Mancer left alone, but he's going to be able to walk away as the rest of his teammates from Strictly Business secure their own red buff. On the right, though, Myflin has just not let go of the pressure against Nickwood. It seems that Dwurst needs a little bit more of this jungle pressure here to help him start rotating.
And I want to see more Gold Fury emphasis by Strictly Business. I think with Myflin spending so much time in that solo lane side, they do have enough members. If they were to just place 4 members of their team at that Gold Fury, they could secure that.
Strictly Business still down about 2,000 gold here despite getting that first blood, and without any Gold Furies by Obey Alliance either. They've just been capitalizing on a lot of farming opportunities, stripping away some buffs at crucial moments. Myflin consistently getting that speed buff here. Another plug here. This time it's on Inbound here. The Stellar Burst barely on the mark. The taunt as well. Nice little zone here onto Shaliber that it's just not available. The Phantom,
wow.
Huge damage out of Myflin, and that's all it's needed.
That was insane. He trusted himself and just immediately went in, zoned out Shaliber from the rest of his team, and nobody was paying attention to what was happening to the mid laner because you figure he's safe underneath his tower.
Where's the ultimate from Inbound to try to save his mid laner? Finding a double taunt onto Delta and Jelly, but the rest of his teammates getting zoned by a nice little side flank from Mancer. And just to talk about this earlier, but so a lot of pressure was dealt onto Inbound and Shaliber at the same time. Where was the defender of Olympus?
Sometimes you just try to get your ultimate off to escape because you look like you're in a very rough spot. And I think that that was the circumstance for Inbound. He didn't realize that Shaliber was getting aggressed on and committed to by Myflin until it was just a little bit too late. And by then, he'd already popped the ultimate.
Creating a lot of chaos and havoc is Obey Alliance. Action in the mid lane, in the solo lane jungle as well. Just splitting away the important support that had the Phantom, keeping Shaliber locked in the cage here. And Myflin doing a great job just positioning himself any which way he needs to be with this cooldown reduction, 20% from this Breastplate of Valor. That cage will come up every 60 seconds or so.
And it's looking like he's building into a little bit of movement speed. I wouldn't be surprised to see him opt for a Heartseeker or a Masamune here.
If I were to guess, it would probably be the Masamune because you want to be closer to the action here with your cage, especially considering you have the Breastplate of Valor, so you're basically a walking ult bot anyway. However, the Bird Bomb combination does a lot of damage, so if you do have that Heartseeker, have those 5 stacks, that's when you can almost one-shot one of these squishy backliners.
I also want to draw things back to first mentioning Mancer on this Jing yet again, and opting for the same build as well. And when I think about it, Reminisst, he hasn't been playing poorly on this Osiris jungle by any means. Hold that thought, though. Shaliber might be meeting the same fate to Myflin yet again. Athena ultimate and Thoth ultimate expended just to try and keep him alive.
A nice enough survivability, but nowhere to go as Dwurst flanks on the backhand side. Nice little aggression here as Reminisst gets pulled back into the thick of things, but he's going to use Lord of the Afterlife back into the mid lane. Bird Bomb onto 2. Taunt as well, rooted into play. Here comes Dwurst into the sky, landing back down on the jungler. Still Nickwood trying to keep everyone in that tier 1 tower, but everyone from Strictly Business has to back, and that's going to be a free tier 1, I believe.
It should be a free tier 1. You've got a Soul and you've got a Jing Wei, and both of them are amped up and ready to go. They might not even stop at just the T1. I mean, 4 ultimates used on the side of Strictly Business. They could potentially lose their T2 here.
So-
Obey Alliance just going to fall back, though.
Only Fatal goes with an ultimate from SB. All of Obey Alliance sitting relatively healthy here. They've transitioned from that tier 2, looking like they invaded that red buff here. No purple buff to invade on top of this, but still so careful despite this little comfortable 3,500 gold lead that they don't push their luck into that gold field quite yet.
And that's the playing with discipline that just comes from being a veteran team such as Obey Alliance. These guys have been together for so long. They know what they can and can't get away with. And they've stretched their limits a little bit, but not far enough yet to risk a lead.
They were just buying time to allow Dwurst to get that tier 1 tower on the right-hand side. Just a small 500 marginal gold advantage that they're able to rack on in Dwurst, trying to steal this one away. But Reminisst finally getting his second speed buff of the game. Not going to be too faltered from that one, but still needs to find something here because Shaliber is starting to fall behind here. 2-level deficit.
2-level deficit, and that's not the spot you want to be in, especially when you're 2 levels behind a soul. It's looking like Inbound wants to go in, though. The stun is good onto Jelly, and he's getting pretty low, but the Odin Ring's enough to separate everybody.
Oh, a nice little final judgment, but he's only level 12 Thoth. Can't really do the damage he needs to secure that Sobek that has a decent amount of magical defense. Myflin forced to escape as well. Inbound going to get caught out by a level 16 Dwurst in the action here. Nice little play from Strictly Business, but I just feel like they're under-leveled and they can't find the action. Look at this. Mancer just casually split pushing, same way Dwurst did.
Mancer can do whatever he wants to do right now, because even if they were to rotate to him, who's going to kill him? I really don't think that Fatal Ghost can box with him right now, and especially having the Fatalis and the built-in crit for his second ability, it is so incredibly difficult for a Rom to try and take up that trade. And I wanted to point this back to my point earlier that Reminisst hasn't been playing this Osiris poorly by any means. I think he's been doing a fine job with it. And actually, it's Inbound who's trying to do a good job.
Nice taunt as Reminisst goes into the Lord of the Afterlife in the skies. Fatal Ghost finds one, needs to connect on some more, misses the second and third. Jelly finally going to follow Bay Alliance. They're going to be fighting 5-on-4, but it's Dwurst in the backline. Fatal Ghost gets absolutely melted. The Aegis keeping him up alive for the moment here. Phantom being used as he's rolling away. Gold Fury does get leashed as well. Still trying to survive, but Dwurst has other intentions. He misses the Somersault Cloud.
I don't think he missed. I think he just wanted to kill Shaliver instead, and now it's going to be Myflin taking on 2 alongside of Dwurst. Myflin after Inbound. Dwurst chasing down Reminisst, and it's looking like they're both going to secure these kills.
Oh, Dwurst finding one onto Reminisst. Nickwood finally comes back into the action. He was too busy trying to zone away Mancer, and that's going to be problematic because there's 3 members dead from Strictly Business, and Obey Alliance, they have a free, open, wide door invitation to that Gold Fury.
Fatal Ghost might have survived that engagement, but at what cost for Strictly Business?
Still trying to zone to allow Mancer and Delta Marine, the 2 hyper carries, to secure that Gold Fury. Dwurst absorbing quite a few shots, gonna miss on the Tiger Stun, but Delta Marine peels away from the Gold Fury, just allow Mancer to secure it. Now Myflin making the rotation, trapping in Nickwood. The final judgment off the mark. Supernova finds not the kill, but it's Nickwood getting traded out for Delta Marine.
That was some solid damage from Delta Marine. Unfortunately for him, Shaliver was able to squeeze on through with that extended range from his Thoth Wall.
Just a great performance here thus far from Obey Alliance to secure themselves the Gold Fury. They only lose Delta Marine in a 1-minute long team fight, able to really kite back and forth and still having this comfortable 2-level lead over Shaliber in the sky is the Rama, but I don't know if he's in range. He hits the second one, misses the third. Portal Demon still being leashed here, and it's secured by Obey Alliance.
That was, I believe it was just on the cusp of being out of range, but now it's Myflin who's trying to find Reminisst. And I'm really not certain if Reminisst wants to keep risking these speed buff engages, because Obey Alliance are getting not greedy, but hungry for more.
But right now, oh, another clean pick here as Delta Marine takes out Inbound, but this is looking, it's very dicey, I would say, for Strictly Business. They're 7,000 gold. They're 7,000 gold behind currently. Not the same rate that they were behind in the game number 1. What do you want to see out of Strictly Business to find the split?
It's actually so incredibly difficult for Strictly Business because I like this draft from them a lot more than their initial one in game number 1, but I just don't feel as though they have the necessary damage candidates to try and deal with members such as Mancer on the Jing or Delta Marine on the Soul. They might pick off one or the other, but having one or the other alive is all that Obey Alliance really needs.
It just seems to me that Obey Alliance are doing such a great job penetrating the defenses of the back line here. Fire Giant being leashed here at 50% health, finally being reset. Myflin throws out the cage here. Fatal Ghost rolls into safety, but it's actually Mancer that has to escape into safety. Delta Marine in a lot of trouble here. He's going to fall as well. 1-for-1 here. Reminisst is going to back on out here. Dwurst going in the sky, forcing out the Aegis out of Shaliber. They want this top. They're trying for it. They finally get it, though.
And unfortunately for Inbound, he's dropping right into 3 members of Obey Alliance, trying to find an escape route, but I don't think the 2-2 tower is any point of safety for him right now.
Not at all, not at all. They lost 2 earlier on. They lose their 3rd. Jumping back into the action is Reminisst, trying to buy some time here, because all the time that Obey spent trying to kill Reminisst, that's time that they're not investing into Fire Giant. But undeterred is Mancer, as he actually survived that team fight just barely, taking that Portal Demon back into the action, able to get the tier 1 on the right, going for this tier 2. He needs to watch out though from behind. Nikwin makes the rotation. He uses the beats. He's trying to fight 1v2, buying time for both Jelly and Myflin to bail him out of danger.
He still has his A's available. All that cost him was his beads, and while it might seem like a significant cooldown, you have to consider he has his ultimate up pretty soon, and that's basically a 2nd set of beats.
Level 19 Jing without a single death right now. 2 stacks on that rage. 5 items complete. Looking very solid as he heads into that late game form. 22 minutes into the game. Obey with a comfortable and commanding 10,000 gold lead. Still without a Fire Giant, but I wouldn't be surprised if they wait on that Fire Giant until that gold here respawns.
I would prefer to see, I think that they can pressure this Fire Giant anytime they want to, but they're most likely going to be patient and wait for, I'd say, at least a pick or 2. They can easily find those.
With such a veteran team from Obey Alliance, they have that discipline to be able to take the small wins and know what is open for them to just get cleanly. That's the whole point of whether you're looking at SPL or SCL. The competitive games is all about how you control the objectives cleanly, because there are calculated plays that could be at about 50% success rate, but then there's the severely calculated plays that are about 100%. Mancer getting caught without the purification beats. Actually uses the ulti offensively here. Fatal Ghost going into the sky, finds 1, finds 2, taking out Mancer.
Mancer kind of just hoping that he would miss, and now it's actually Shaliber dealing a solid chunk of damage onto Delta Marine. That's both the carries down for Obey Alliance, but they're going to clean up Shaliber. They've already taken out Inbound, and now it's Nikwit trying to run away from 3 members of Obey. That decoy caught me off guard.
Reminisst is on the speed buff during that whole team fight. What are you doing? 2 for 2 thus far, as we see Fatal Ghost on the left-hand side, still split pushing, finding that kill onto Mancer earlier on. So he's going to get at least 500 gold for his team, unless Dwurst, the scary Sun Wukong, has something to say about it.
And that's the jungler syndrome that I was just talking about. But Fatal Ghost, he's got no mana. He's going to try and commit to this tower, at least pick up that 500 gold, because I think he knows that he's toast.
There's no mana on his side either, so it's all about Dwurst disrupting the wave, finding the timing that he really needs to. The health potions have been procced here. Fatal Ghost still on his last legs. Jingu bang. Jingu dead is Fatal Ghost here. Now taunted is Jelly here alongside with Nikwin. Not too much other follow-up damage, and that's a huge timing window. 45 seconds for Fatal Ghost to come back.
45 seconds, and it's a Ram, probably one of the only available gods right now who has any sort of hope of shredding out Mancer, considering that Delta Marine is being targeted pretty highly by Sheikah, which is completely understandable. I love Sheikah's target selection to just try and burst out Delta Marine from these team fights.
It's time for Obey Alliance to start grouping up in these team fights. Jelly has that. Shogun's Kusari capitalizing on the attack speed for both Delta Marine and Mancer in these late game form. That heat is going to absolutely melt the objectives, especially with that additional attack speed.
And again, Myflin looking to make the engagement in the mid lane. Delta Marine and Shaliber is standing no chance. He's got nowhere left to go.
Just the cage is too much for Shaliber, getting caught out again. Reminisst gets plucked into danger here. Forced to use Lord of the Afterlife on the east side, getting chased by both Myflin and Mancer. Sunder is good. The shots from Mancer is even better. 2 early kills here in this engagement, giving the Portal Demon for Obey Alliance and more than likely the Fire Giant.
They lost a ult secured onto objectives, and then they lost Reminisst, who's a massive part of the front line. Myflin just messing around with Nikwit, because there's nothing that Nikwit can do to Myflin to get past him, I would say.
Oh, nice taunt to stop the DPS on the Fire Giant. Mancer's actually tanking that Fire Giant inbound, doing a good job, forcing Obey Alliance to stop it for the time being. And it's now Fatal Ghost that's going to get chased by Delta Marine and Dwurst, forcing out the Purification Beads. Delta Marine needs to hit the Stellar Burst, but a nice little rollout, going to buy him some time. Dwurst really wants to chase this down, but it's actually Myflin catching the Athena in the cage.
And Dwurst was able to find Fatal Ghost on that backside, just absolutely getting destroyed by these tanky frontliners.
Oh, no you don't, says Jelly. Come back here. Nikwit nowhere to go yet again. Third victim here from Strictly Business. Still diving between Tier 2 and the Phoenix. Dwurst just chilling here. Mancer getting that Tier 2 mid tower. Reminisct can only watch as this team falls underneath him.
These spam labs and spam taunts by Obey, they've got to be inside the heads of Strictly Business so heavily right now. And just look at their score lines and look at how much these guys are all just being surrounded by each other. You've got Dwurst 9-0-7, and then you've got Myflin as well, 8-0-11, Jelly 1-3-11, but it's evident that these guys are all being parts of multiple amounts of kills as far as their frontline and peel is concerned, and that's really impressive.
Just diving the backline repeatedly. Dwurst and Myflin cannot be stopped here. Strictly Business, they need to learn from this set in the future, I feel like, and take a little page out of Obey Alliance's books for their future sets.
And I wouldn't even say that it's on Shaliber here for dying as many times as he has. It's really just been Obey committing so heavily to him, and once he got locked inside of that Odin cage, there's just nowhere left to go. Like, he can't escape that.
And not only that, you were mentioning how the Athena and the Ram were picked after the Odin was already selected for Obey Alliance, so something needs to change, I feel like, not just inside the game, but outside tactics as well. Still, no Phoenix being touched except for that middle one earlier on here. Obey Alliance looking very strong to get another 3 points in this week.
I'm thinking that Obey Alliance have got to be feeling themselves right now. They're looking confident and they're playing confident, that's for sure. The fact that they're not scared of engaging, that Mancer's willing to try and box out 2 people, it just goes to show that this team is certain that they're taking this one home.
No minions on the left-hand side, doesn't matter. With Fire Giant just absolutely melting it completely. Jelly leading the charge, looking for a potential plug here. Stellar Burst going to zone out Nikwit for the time being, but not wanting to commit quite yet. Still waiting for the full 5-man grouping because Mancer's in mid, making his rotation while Dwurst is keeping 2 busy on the right.
And I love what Mancer's doing, pushing up that fire minion wave, because that way Strictly Business is going to have to worry about those creeps. And now Myflin, the engage is on, the cage is out, and Nikwit's inside of it.
Jelly's trying to retreat, looking at the water being used, able to go away, but it's the snipes trying to connect. 2 and 3 are good, but it's just not enough quite yet. Left side Phoenix does go down. Reminisst still trying to dive the backline just to find one potential pick here. Fire minions in this Titan room. Mancer taking a little bit of poke here, but he's going to be safe as he leaves the room for the time being.
And now it's actually Mancer trying to play the aggressive, cleaned up by Inbound, but Delta Marine with the massive ultimate completely taking out Fatal Ghost and Inbound, just deleted.
Strictly Business, they lose 2. They're about to lose their Titan as well. They're about to lose the second game. Walking away with 3 points is Obey Alliance. Jelly just messing around with Reminisst. No care in the world. Nikwit getting taken out by Delta Marine. Finally, the Titan going down in 29 minutes worth of action. 26-8. Obey Alliance so strong in this set.
How did Jelly live there for so long?
He's a Sobek. He's a croc.
He was just alive, chilling for the past like 2.5 minutes of that engagement, and I don't know. That's pretty crazy to me. But congratulations to Obey Alliance for a very dominant and clean set.
And honestly, I'm looking at the second game specifically. The Odin pick here for Myflin, to me, just completely devastated. I think just Shaliber forces Athena support here to go for this early Phantom. Obviously, Reminisct can walk through it. Barely able to survive a lot of these engagements was Dwurst, even baiting a lot of these encounters here where he would go into 1v2 willingly, knowing knowing that his jungler was right around the corner.
I just felt bad for Shaliver because this is the moment that we noticed the Athena was completely separated, and Shaliver's just like, guys, and it's already too late.
Yeah, at that point, there was just no help at all. Maybe if he used Defender of Olympus, he could pop the Phantom quick enough for both of them to escape, but instead losing the mid laner, Myflin just all over the place, and as a result, now we see Obey Alliance gets their third 2-0 clean sweep thus far in the summer split, looking very comfortable heading into Valencia.
And I think that with the way that they are running the scene right now, I don't see how Obey don't qualify for Valencia. They're just looking like a top-tier team right now in North America.
Do you think anybody can even touch this team?
Astral Authority. I mean, we saw it happen once already, so I wouldn't be surprised if Astral made it happen again. It seems as though Astral prefers the LAN setting, even though they're very strong online, don't get me wrong, but I want to see these two again at a LAN.
As we're going to take a look at the schedule here on your screen, we had Europe earlier on today in 2 sets here. Era Eternity split with Knave and Tech. Team Rival get a nice 2-0 victory over Enix. The first North American game, we saw Astral Authority get that 2-0 against Elevate.
And I'm sure Astral Authority are more than happy to secure a clean 2-0 victory because they needed those points, because they want to ensure that they're as close to the top as possible. Finding a couple of splits is always not a lot of fun, especially since I think Astral hold themselves to high standards. But Soar Gaming versus Starboys, Soar also more than ecstatic probably to have their first 2-0 as well against, or not their first, excuse me, but securing that 2-0 victory against Starboys is always nice.
Separating themselves against Starboys and then Obey Alliance, and what a great performance out of them. But let's go ahead and take a look at the EU standings here out of the Smite Console League. Team Rival, with that one match, has the edge over everyone else thus far, but there's still a lot more action here. It's only the first week out of Europe thus far. This is the third week in North America, and here we see Obey Alliance just topping the charts.
Obey Alliance, it looks like they're pretty unstoppable, and like I said, the only ones who are really close to catching them right now is Astral Authority.
And I wouldn't be surprised if those are your two teams that would go to Valencia here. And like you mentioned before, the LAN environment versus online is just so much different here. The confidence boost that Astral Authority could potentially take with them in these future weeks could be very clear and evident.
Oh, no, I'm absolutely loving it. I can't wait to see how these teams unfold, especially on the EU side of things, considering that they only get 3 weeks of competition. So every single set matters.
Well, that's going to be for myself and Taco, along with the rest of everyone in production. Thank you guys so much for watching the Smite console action, but stay tuned on Thursday as we're going to continue with the SPL.